Hi guys, look, I was going to do my top 10, but the truth of the matter is I've run out of time, so I'm not going to sit down and type my top 10. So what I'm going to do, something a little bit different. I've just had a client, he'll know who he is, I guess when he watches this video back, and I don't think he'll be embarrassed by it. But the client came in, he wants to run, he's a good, say, 10 kilos overweight. He probably suggested it was more than that, but in my view, and education, I think it's about 10 kilos, which is still a fair bit of weight. I've pulled up this here. If you look at the size of this piece of fat, that's 2.5 kilograms of fat, of what actual fat would be. So I think he's got like 5, and you can see that in relation to my melon. He's got like 5 of them to lose, which is a lot of weight. And I suspect he's probably got that to lose. Now his complaint to me was this. He said, look, Pampy, I've been watching what I've been eating. I put in next to no calories in. I've been training the house down. I've been off the piss. Been doing all the right things. Yet for the last sort of 8 weeks or so, I just have not lost weight. So he's like, what's going on? And look, this is something I hear a fair bit. People sort of pleading with me that, why am I losing weight? I'll try and explain today why that approach of, say, look, dropping your calories and just ramping up your training is probably not in your best interest to take you to your optimum weight and frame. I don't want to talk about today what foods are in your best interest to eat and what sort of calories to take on board and how to train. We'll save that to another day, and I've probably covered it previously anyway. All I want to do is really quickly say and give you an idea as to perhaps why the calories in versus calories out is not really going to be in your best interest to lose weight, certainly for the client that just left. Firstly, we've got a safety, a brain acts, and we've got this safety survival mechanism in place where my brain will talk to my fat stores, of which have all got plenty, and it will say, and in those fat cells is a little hormone that the fat cells make called leptin, and the job of leptin is to simply go from the fat cell all the way up to my brain, and it talks, and there's always this communication going. My brain is the central governor, and it dictates all my human movement. And the leptin will go up from the fat cells, and it says to my brain that Brad's pretty fine at the minute. Let's moderate his appetite. There's no need to ramp that up because fat cells are fine. So if there were a famine and all, I'm sweet. If I want to go and exercise, I'm sweet. I am at my optimum weight. So appetite, of course, just stays relaxed, and I'm dictated by that. Metabolism equally. My metabolism is always cranked up. Everything's healthy. And I'm in that state where I just continue living as is. Now with my client that just left, what his situation is this. Now he said that message from his fat cells, of which he's got some to lose, if he's not putting in calories, then the brain's going to detect, something might be wrong here. And certainly for his first week or two, which he's always claimed, I'll lose a fair bit of weight in that first week, and then all of a sudden she plateaus, and then of course up she goes again, and usually you end up being heavier than you were when you first started. But he gets that initial weight loss because the brain obviously thinks, well, I'm training, so metabolism's amped up, so let's churn through it, and obviously weight slightly comes down, and then all of a sudden the brain detects, hang on, are we in a state here of running out of fat cells, and it kind of considers this might be of danger. So the leptin goes up and says, I think we're running out here. We might just sort of slow things down a bit. So the brain detects that, so the brain will do, right, I'm going to moderate this. I'm going to, slow down his metabolism, so rather than ramping it up, it's actually going to slow it down, which is usually why I get that sort of week 3, 4 on this sort of calories, low calories in, calories out program. I'm trying to balance it anyway. You get that sort of lack of motivation, you're flat, you're tired with your training, and that's just your brain saying, look mate, you need to slow down here, and metabolism will equally slow down. And probably worse still, of course, the other thing the brain will do is it ramp up your appetite. So it's going to go and get me food, go and get me food. I think we may be in danger. And the brain's sort of detecting, shit, we don't want to run out of energy here, and we certainly don't want to run out of fat stores. So I'm going to tell that person to go and eat. So your appetite goes through the roof. Usually your appetite's led towards grabbing sugar options because that's the quickest fix you're going to get. That's going to make you feel better the fastest. And of course we know that amps up insulin, and I don't really want to go into that in great detail today. So therein lies the problem, that if you just reduce calories significantly, and particularly calories that are low in density of energy, and little of them, again, the brain's going to detect it, and I suspect you're going to find metabolism slows, appetite increases, and then ultimately, bang, up goes his weight again. And it doesn't matter if he continues to try and exercise, eventually and ultimately the brain will say, no, this is not on, and it'll either lead to injury or, just as I said, lack of motivation, flatness, and as a consequence, he then loses all interest in exercise, and the process starts again. So it's all about this connection of the hormone leptin talking to the brain and moderating as to whether or not the individual is at their optimum weight or not. So obviously he said to me, well, I'm overweight and I'm fat, so wouldn't there be stacks of this leptin talking to my brain saying, well, we've got stacks here, let's ramp up the metabolism to try and get rid of some of it because I'm not at my optimum living weight. But the problem is this, occasionally you'll get, particularly after a period of time, that little message that goes from the leptin hormone up to the brain, there's a resistance there. We start driving in blockers. So all of a sudden this hormone can't get to the brain to tell it, we're getting fatter, we're not at our optimum. The brain's not getting the message to try and moderate, increase, reduce appetite and increase metabolism. What would be that resistance? Throwing stacks of sugars down his neck. Insulin obviously has a huge role in it. Sleep deprivation, if you're not getting good Zs, that's going to play a huge role ultimately, not 1 or 2 nights, but if it keeps up, that's certainly going to start resisting that leptin message. Stress is definitely going to play a huge role there. We know hormones ramp up when we're stressed, and that's going to play a huge role in blocking that resistance. And things like high fructose corn sugar, if you look at labels, guys, you'll see that is in so many things, and we now know is a huge player in resisting that message to the brain, which ultimately and eventually, again, it's just the brain will not get the message, so it's going to increase appetite, usually to sugary fixes or addictive sort of interests, or overeating, of course, of anything. Because it's not getting this stop eating, it doesn't get that message, and then of course it's going to slow down metabolism, so you will not get that ability to burn fat, certainly as your fuel source. Look, I hope this explains it. So what I'm going to do with him, well, we're going to discuss foods that leave him more satisfied for a longer period of time. Fat, protein, selected carbs are going to do that. And we're certainly going to exercise in a fat burning zone. We're certainly not going to go over it, because if he goes over it, the likelihood is the brain will detect that, maybe we're running out of fuel again. That's what it's designed to do, and then it'll say, mate, go eat, and I don't want that happening either. Hope this explains it. I'll get back to my normal top 10 network. Thank you.